saw a UFO and has part of the spaceship to prove it.
KCAL News anchor Chris Holmstrom is here. And Chris, you spoke with him about this.
Yeah, it sounds like a wild story, but what's crazy about it is the federal government's actually investigating this case, which makes you wonder what's really going on. All right, so this man, Jose Padilla, he was 9 years old back in 1945. When he says he and his friend witnessed something they'd never forget.
He used to carry a suitcase with him, wear a fancy-looking hat.
87-year-old Jose Padilla of Rowland Heights is recalling a brush with infamy he had as a boy.
I used to see Robert Oppenheimer.
That Robert Oppenheimer, and mastermind of the atomic bomb. Padilla grew up in San Antonio, New Mexico, some 13 miles from where the bomb was first tested in 1945. Jose recalls seeing the dapper physicist frequently near the Al Bar, a local gathering spot still operating today.
He had an office right behind the Elbow Bar.
That office, now a shack Jose has visited frequently in recent years to try to make sense of a series of events in the summer of '45, starting with the A-bomb detonation at New Mexico's Trinity site near the White Sands Missile Range.
I was drinking my chocolate milk on vacation when like a lightning showed up.
The glow of a mushroom cloud could be spotted up to 150 miles away.
It knocked me to the ground.
A month later, Jose and a playmate were riding on his father's ranch and heard another boom.
I told my friend, it must be another test from the bomb. And he says, no, it's not a bomb. Look at the smoke coming out of the ground.
It appeared to be coming from an avocado-shaped aircraft. This is an artist's rendering.
All of a sudden, 3 little, I would say kids, got up of it. They were kind of sashaying and running around in circles.
He says they resembled extraterrestrials he's since seen in the movies.
They walk like us, but they look like a fire ant standing up.
Jose and I recently met up at a favorite spot of his, the Griffith Park Observatory. Did you have any fear of these creatures?
No, sir. They had crashed at my father's ranch, and they needed help.
Over the following 10 days, Jose says the military cleaned up the wreckage, while he and his friend watched from a nearby ridge.
I still hear them pretty good.
His buddy, Remy Baca, became a Marine, moved to Washington State, and worked in politics. Jose moved to Rowland Heights and quietly raised a family.
We had lost each other.
The men were interviewed by investigative reporter and UFO researcher Paula Harris in 2012. Harris was investigating a claim by the son of World War II Army pilot William Brophy.
The pilot's son told me the last missions of his father was to fly over that area. And he said that when he flew over, that he saw 2 little Indian boys on horseback.
Harris believes those 2 boys were Jose and his friend. Though warned to stay away, they returned to their viewing ridge day after day.
We were hiding behind cactuses.
Jose says when soldiers took a break from cleanup, he and his friends entered the craft. The creatures were gone, but something else caught his eye.
There was like a little dial.
Jose yanked it out.
I took the part and hid it in my garage.
Chemical testing in 2015 by Frontier Analysis, based out of Ohio, revealed that the artifact was composed of aluminum mixed with silicon and copper. Now, that's a common metal mix found in engine parts. But the report went on to say that even though the isotopic ratios are terrestrial, an extraterrestrial source for the metals is not ruled out.
No one knows what it is.
What do you say to people who might think that you're crazy and the story is not true?
Well, I've had a lot of people say that.
It's actually very common to be called crazy.
Jeffrey Kripal is a professor of religion at Houston's Rice University and founder of the campus's Archives of the Impossible. Kripal calls Jose an experiencer.
An experiencer is someone to whom something remarkable or extraordinary has happened. It's usually used in a UFO context.
Stories like Jose's are far from isolated.
There are tens of thousands of these stories.
And they go back to biblical times.
Ezekiel chapter 1 and the strange animals and the wheels within wheels. And as someone who studies religion, I'm extremely interested. There is a phenomenon. It's very real. It's very powerful.
And there seems to be a pattern. Jose's encounter happened 1 month after an atomic blast.
There is a very strong connection.
While Kripal is moved by stories like Jose's, he acknowledges the lack of physical evidence. Not only was testing on Jose's artifact inconclusive, there are no photos of actual encounters.
That doesn't mean they didn't happen. It just means they're not a proper object of scientific inquiry.
Paula Harris disagrees. Her book, Trinity, details what she calls compelling evidence, including
the exact location. It was a circular spot where nothing would grow.
Her co-investigator on the book is Dr. Jacques Vallée. He's a French astronomer who became famous after Steven Spielberg based a character on him in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. In the movies and in the stories of experiences, Professor Kripal says there's often a connection to nuclear weapons or environmental collapse. His theory about these encounters:
I think we are the aliens. I think we're warning ourselves about these issues through this phenomenon.
The most significant impact of Jose's story, a new start date for the federally funded UFO research. Under the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act, Congress pushed back the date on investigating UFO sightings from 1947 to 1945. That's all Jose has ever wanted.
Since I was a young kid, I wanted to learn and know what had happened.
As he reflects on his childhood memory, Jose remains steadfast on this. The creatures, he says, were real to him, and the craft they rode in on
That